Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Mac, and today we're taking a look at my 17 Algeth'ar Academy I timed literally tonight. I've been getting a lot of comments asking for some sort of VOD review of my keys that I've been running, just to kind of get an idea of my thoughts, my processes, and what I'm thinking at any given point in a key. So I thought, why not try with this one, starting it off first with a key that has given me a lot of trouble with Algeth'ar Academy. So we're just going to start and see how it goes. Algeth'ar is one of the more difficult keys. The timer's pretty tight, which makes it really rough to time on higher keys. In particular, this first pull generally wipes a lot of groups that I was in. Really, priority here, my only real priority is ripping and destroying one of those lashers as soon as possible so the tank can live. But aside from that, I rip Ascendance, I rip a Spirit Walker's Grace eventually, and I just keep blasting with the Lust here. And honestly, this was a really good group. I mean, I know the Demon Hunter there did something weird, which is why he said no shot. I'm assuming something went wrong. But either way, we blast through this and get... As long as you live through this pull, the key's not too bad. It's a very healing intensive key. Once you get to Crawth, it kind of got a DPS check because the healer is eventually going to go or it's just going to be too much healing to get done. But realistically, there's not too much to talk about on the first pull. So I'll go ahead and just skip ahead. The tank lives. We blast down all these lashers. Actually, I should say, in this first pull, like I said, it's super important to focus down those lashers because they have a massive tank buster, and that's really the main danger here. If the tank lives, this pull is easy peasy. If the tank dies because one of the three lashers just tank busts him and he has nothing else for it, that's a ripped key, right? So your job as a DPS player or a shaman is, I don't even really spend my Tempest procs dumping them into or spreading them around in the pack here. I literally Tempest one of these lashers on cooldown every time I have it, just so it dies as quick as humanly possible, because that's the only way you're wiping on that pull, is the tank dies. And if you kill one soon, then tank has one less buster to worry about, and then that's all she wrote. This boss, I think, is pretty uneventful. Really, the only thing I did here was I held my CDs for some of the ads to really, pump my numbers up a little bit, if I'm honest. And you can see over here the overall damage that we've done. I'm still sitting at the bottom, even though the Demon Hunter screwed something up. So that's a little bit on me because I didn't Spirit Walker's Grace on that first pull, but either way, it's neither here nor there. So I rip Stormkeeper, I rip my Ascendants, I drop some Earthquakes, blast some Chain Lightnings out, and jump to the top of the DPS meters with the Demon Hunter. And then we just focus down this Ancient Branch. And really, this boss isn't too much of a danger as long as you survive the immersion or the burst forth cast he does and kill that ad that he just spawned that drops the cleansing circle. It's a pretty easy boss. Really, I don't think I've wiped on this boss yet because it's really the easiest boss in the dungeon. And this really here's the only dangerous part, which is you'll see I ripped Astral Shift for this because it does a lot of damage when they burst out. So here, rip an Astral Shift, because that's about to pop. Boom, it chunks our entire group, and even then it only did about half damage to our group, which isn't that much. And with my Astral Shift, it only did about a quarter of my health. So if you live that, this boss dies easy peasy, no problem, just a cakewalk. Eventually, end of the boss, I rip Ascendance again when the ads come out, just to kind of blast through it and prior focus the boss on the important ad with the branch for the cleansing circle. But that's really all that boss is. This isn't my least favorite part of the dungeon because it's just pure single target and you have nothing for this guy. Really, you just Voltaic Blade or Flame Shock, Stormkeeper, and just single target. It's the most boring thing in the world with Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Elemental Blast. But that's all you can do. I actually think someone dies here to a wind or a knockoff or something. Maybe the Demon Hunter dies. Yeah, the Demon Hunter stays in there and just dies. So even with that death, we do time it, but this pull always just stinks for us. Like, we don't have good single target outside of our CDs. It's very flat. This next pull is actually something that I've gone back and forth with, but I think I've settled on it in a key 17s, 16s maybe, but 17s and ups definitely. If no one else has their CDs, since I have my Ascendants and Stormkeeper here, I send my CDs on this first pack. I know they're not super dangerous, and there's not a lot of prio damage here, but I send my CDs specifically because I want to send them, and I want to get them rolling, that cooldown rolling. So what I do here is if I rip my Stormkeeper Ascendants, I'll get that cooldown rolling so it's up in time for the boss. If I hold it for the next pack with the priority larger eagle, I don't have it in time for the beginning of the boss, and that in turn then makes it so I don't have it in time for the damage amp of the boss, which is really the important part. So this dungeon with Elemental Shaman is very much focused on timing your CDs to work for the dungeon, right? If you don't have your CDs for the damage amp on Crawth, you're probably not going to make the DPS check, and your healer is probably going to go or not be able to keep up with the healing. So you have to kind of make your cooldowns work around the dungeon rather than have your, try to shove them in where they don't fit. So I use my cooldowns here, even though it's definitely not ideal because these things are weak, they're not dangerous, just so I have it available for when Crawth's damage amp comes out. And you'll see, I'll, whoopsies, go back to that. It's somewhere over here, right? Yeah. I rip my CDs here. I actually kill them fast enough with this group. 600k on useless add damage, but I have a Tempest, I have an Empowered Voltaic Blaze with my Fire Elemental out, and I have 3 Stormkeeper charges, so I can just plow into this group really quickly and get a good quick burst of damage out. And this is one thing that you might notice is I actually overcap on Maelstrom here, and that's okay in this situation because I can't drop Earthquake on top of them because they're flying. It, for some reason, breaks the game. And I have 2 seconds on my Stormkeeper charges, and I don't want them to run out. So I send my Stormkeeper charges. Realistically, I probably could have sent a Tempest, so it re-ups that stack timer. But looking back on it now, I could have done that. So I get a good chunk of damage on these adds. They die, no problem. Pretty much that's this. Really, again, on this fight and the next pack with the larger eagle, I am pretty much prioritizing damage on the alpha eagles. Chain Lightning, sure, but pretty much all of my Tempests are going into the Alpha Eagles because you notice that lasted a good 10-15 seconds longer than the other ones. And that's even more pronounced in this pull, where the small adds die right now, and both of the bigger Eagles are at 50% health. So prioritizing one of the Eagles on this pull in particular is super important because they have a big screech that does a lot of damage, and if they're both up for too long, they both overlap those screeches, which is effectively an insta-kill here. So that was one screech, the next one's starting to screech, boom. If we don't kill this one in time for the next screech to go out, we'll likely die, so prioritizing one of them is super important, but we do it, easy peasy. And you see, just in time for this, my CDs are now coming up off of cooldown, and I'm ready to get into the boss fight. Oh, and this boss is not fun, but it is what it is. So we go ahead, rip our Stormkeeper, Ascendants, blast into this boss, just like you would any opener. Since it's 2 minutes, it kind of works out perfectly with the amount of damage we're doing. Look at that beautiful 300k opener. I love that. This boss, aside from the cooldown management, just comes down to being safe on those deafening casts. Don't get interrupted. Don't get silenced because that really gimps us a bit. I mean, it gimps any caster, but just be careful with it. Also, you want to kind of use your defensives liberally here as long as you have it up for the second phase of this boss with the fire and the wind. But as long as you do that, it's easy. This boss, we started at, 2015 about, so we'll keep that in mind. We get the wind first. We were going to pick up one of these orbs for the haste buff as well as the planting buff, so we can just kind of plow into this boss. And I'm at 50 seconds on my timer. If I just go ahead and skip ahead a little bit more, we get the boss down to 45%, just about when my cooldowns come up, which is perfect because that means we'll have a lust with all of my CDs available. The one unfortunate thing I did here on this pull is I actually assumed that we weren't going to get this boss low enough. It's at 53% now. I thought it was going to take us about 45 seconds to get the boss to 45% from here. So I send my Stormkeeper not thinking it would be a problem, but it actually turns out it is a problem. Our damage is good enough to make that. So unfortunately, I go into this damage amp without a Stormkeeper, but you know what? That's how it goes. Sometimes it happens. We rip this, rip a Lust, go ahead and rip our Ascendants here with the damage amp phase, our Spirit Walker's Grace, because this fight absolutely is rough without it, especially in this phase. And we just blast. And then I think the next time he does a Screech, I go ahead and rip a defensive here, because this is really the only super dangerous part of the fight. Yeah, so there's that Screech goes out, I rip a defensive, just kind of live through that dot. And that's Crawth. Very simple fight. Do the mechanics well. Make sure you have your cooldowns up for that damage amp, and the fight's simplistic. Just really a straight healer check. As long as you guys can do the damage, it's a healer check. This bit, we skip this ad because it's not necessary, so we just jump ahead, and we go here. Cool thing with these little Ravagers is you can sit under them, and they'll jump to the farthest, I believe it's the farthest target. So as long as you're closer to this than the tank, it will always target the tank. Which is nice, because effectively, if you get jumped on by this guy, it does a massive dot that is really, really, really painful. So you want to avoid that at all costs. If you can do that, these guys pretty much fall over. It's not too big of a deal. Just pretty much try to stay under these Ravagers as best you can. He didn't, so we kind of have to do this awkward little movement, but he does fade, I believe, so that's fine. Rip some defensives here so I live. Make sure you interrupt the surge. Boom, like that, and that's all these ads do. Next up, I don't think there's much happening between here and there. Same kind of thing for the Ravager. You just sit under it, blast some damage into these guys. We pull the books and everything into this Ravager pull so we can make the DPS check and timer check. And this kind of lines up perfectly, because now I have my CDs for the one of the more dangerous pulls in this dungeon, which is the double pull with these books up here and these casters. So the Foragers, they're going to do damage, whatever. It's not a huge deal. But the tanks can go ahead and pull these axes, the surging arcane things and whatever, and we're just going to blast this. Now, it does get a little bit spicy eventually when we run out of interrupts, knockups, stops, all that. But the healer's doing a very good job of keeping us all alive through it all. And we're doing pretty good with interrupting. I missed one there, unfortunately. But we get through it. So you see, it does get a little bit spicy. I have to go over here. We have a Ring of Peace. I have to Thunderstorm here so it stops the cast, and try to buy time for my interrupt to come back up, which is perfect for that surge. So keys aren't perfect. It's not a perfect... I mean, they aren't a perfect science, especially in pugs. Do what you can and figure it out from there. This boss isn't too bad. It does have a pretty... It's a very, very scripted, easy fight to understand, right? As long as you eat an orb, you don't eat an orb when you already have a stack, and you rip it defensive when you get the puddle and the knockback, you'll pretty much never die on this boss. So I got a orb. You see I have this dot here. The only thing about it is you don't want to soak another orb when you have that. Pretty much it. But this is the puddle I'm talking about. Is you'll see these puddles drop, and they do a big chunk of damage to the people that drop them. Now, that alone does a decent chunk of damage, but that's not the dangerous part. It's that coupled with this Arcane Fissure cast that's coming up. So, let's see if we can get to that. I'll probably get a Mana Bomb here. Here we go. So, this Mana Bomb's here. This is going to chunk me, and then this Arcane Fissure is going to also chunk me and the rest of the group. So, I shift here because this is the only real time I'm technically in danger of dying. I rip that. I get chunked for a quarter of my health. The Arcane Fissure comes out. It chunks me down to a quarter of my health. If I didn't have my defensive up, that's 40% damage reduction. I would have died from that overlap because I wouldn't have been able to be healed up quick enough by the healer. I could have health potted, but really, that defensive, if you have it, just use it. That overlap with that knockback and that puddle is super dangerous. If you can live that, this boss is pretty simple. I think I do die here at the end because I just don't have anything for this. You'll see, yeah, my defensive is on cooldown. I do have a health pot, but I do think I use it. If I don't use it, then that's on me. But Mana Bomb's going out, and you see the Arcane Expulsion is going to happen right after this. There's the orb. I'm now at a quarter health because I didn't have a defensive for that. And I could have used my health pot, which, in fact, I did use my health pot. But even still, I'm full health here. I get knocked back, Wait, I didn't get knocked back. It's the next one. It's the next one. Okay, I can't time this well. Here's the mana bomb. I had to use my health pot for that last bit. I honestly probably could have saved it because there was no other damage going out, so that was a misplay on my end. But this dot into the drop, I am at 10% of my health into the fissure. I have nothing left. This is pure healer mechanic here at this point, and it's just, I die. So, luckily enough, I died when the boss was at literally 0% health, so it's not a huge deal, so I don't have to onk. We don't need a B-res. I don't have a B-res, but we don't need a B-res because I can just release and we're right at the boss. So then we just go into the next pull. And this worked out really nice because these other DPS on that boss didn't end it with a cooldowns, but I did end with my cooldowns available. So I held it specifically. I think I only held it for a little bit, right? Yeah, I only held it for maybe like 4% of the boss. So timing just worked out perfectly here for me. We rebuff up. We go into this pack. I rip my cooldowns here. This one I do spread my Tempest a little bit for Lightning Rod, extra damage. And, you know, it's, you know, the better play here because there's no real super priority targets as long as you interrupt. And it's a good thing I had my CDs for this because if I didn't, it might have been a little dangerous here because it doesn't look like anyone else either had their CDs. So good thing I had them because that made this fight or this pull very quick. And it can be quite dangerous if you get those surges coming off because if we don't have those interrupts set for them, then we can very easily die on that. But we now have 8.5 minutes to do this last room up here with the boss, and we have Lust coming up. So this is going to be super simple. Like the Demon Hunter said, plenty of time, don't panic. I mean, I know you can't see the chat, but he said, plenty of time, don't panic, everyone. So we just take our time. We do this small 3 pull here. You can do the lock skip, which goes from like over here to over here. So you skip these 3 adds. But really, we have so much time. We don't have a lock, obviously. There's no real need to do it. And we just kind of slowly make our way in there. The only real dangerous part of this is if you do this massive suicide pull into that room, you can't do that in higher keys. There's way too much AoE damage going out. So we just take it slow, burn it down. Then we take these guys into the room with those frontal, with those melees. And the nice thing about this is you can actually line of sight these guys' smash. So I don't actually do that for the first ones that come out because I'm ripping my CDs here, and I want to make sure I get all my damage out as quickly as possible. Plus the healer's ripping out some nice heals here to make sure we all stay safe while we're using our CDs. And we're just blasting them. And I'll actually show you here. We go into this room, make some room here. We try to LOS around the pillar there. It doesn't work. But the tank holds him in that room. He's going to start the Arcane Smash, and I'm going to dip behind this wall, and I don't take any damage from it because I just LOS it. Only these 2 monks do. So it's a little tech you can do just to kind of stay super safe, but that's the last actually dangerous pull of the dungeon. Probably one of the more dangerous ones, aside from the first and like the double caster pack before Vexamus. But aside from that, that's really the dungeon. I hold my CDs here. We have 40 seconds on CDs, and I know you can't see chat, but me and the group were chatting and saying how long on CDs, and they said about 30 seconds. So I said, okay, I'll rip Lust in 30. So we have Lust for our CDs here. So we have 5 minutes with a full CD window with Lust to just blast through this boss. And hold my CDs. I go ahead and rip Lust about 5 seconds left on my Ascendants because other people have their CDs. And then we just go. And this was a super smooth pug run. I gotta say, it's very rare you get a pug run that's this smooth. No one died to something silly. No one died to just dumb mechanics. They just did the job and did their damage, and it worked out. Not all pugs are like this. We all know that. Pug and keys can be a big mess, but luckily for me, this was my last 17 I needed, so I finally got Resi 17s, which is nice. Yay me. And I can now give them to my guildmates. But yeah, really, that's all there is to this dungeon. There's only a couple of really important parts, like I mentioned. the first pack, when the first pull with those flowers, really prioritize those bigger flowers so they don't do the tank buster as often. On Crawth, make sure you have your CDs and Lust available for the damage amp phase. On Vexamus, make sure you live that overlap with the expulsion plus the mines or whatever he does on the ground. And then that last pull before here, just try to LOS those big arcane smashes, because if you can do all of those things, which are really the only dangerous parts of the key, then the key gets timed. So that's Algeth'ar Academy 17, my last 17, and my Resil key as of today. So hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I didn't babble your ear off. And hopefully this gave you some sort of idea into my inner working thoughts of how I do keys and what are my thoughts throughout the key. But if you like this, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I never done anything like this before, so let me know your thoughts, and maybe I'll do some more. If you want LE coaching or Mythic Plus coaching, or just want to chat about elemental stuff, I have a Patreon down below you can go check out. Discord you can join. We have a bunch of members there always talking about the Elemental Shaman, as well as just make sure to like and subscribe so you're updated with other new videos that come out when they come out. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next one.